Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Bruce, if they lost, I was going to weep, and when they won, I almost shed a tear. I mean, it was such a huge victory for this team. And for Connor McDavid, it was just such a big moment in his career to get kind of a monkey off his back, I think. Just to dominate, absolutely and utterly dominate in a playoff series. First time the Oilers are out of the first round since 2017. And he was the, obviously clearly the MVP of the series and of this game. And I just really felt good for Connor McDavid. How about you?
I'm exhilarated tonight, David. That was a very intense and entertaining, energetic game of hockey, and the better team won, and the better team was my team. So that's a really good feeling when your team wins, and they deserve it. And to win a playoff series, which used to be a commonplace thing, isn't so much anymore. And this is first one in 5 years for the Oilers, and just a second in 16 long years that we've actually gone through a handshake line as the winners of a series. And first time Oilers won a best of 7 series in this century.
I actually
like a full 7 game series.
I felt bad for the Leafs, honestly, tonight. Like I often take pleasure when they screw up and fail, but man, I felt bad for them. Like, that team has just been pushing hard for a long. They've got a really good hockey team and lots of good players. And I just thought, like, it would be like if the Oilers lost. It's just painful. And tonight, Bruce, if the Oilers had lost, if the Oilers had lost this game, that would have been so painful because the Oilers were the dominant team. We track, of course, grade A shots, and the grade A shots in this game were 13 for the Edmonton Oilers, 5 for the LA Kings, 5. The 5 alarm shots, which are the very, very highest quality shots, they got a 33+% chance of going in, were 7-2 for the Oilers. The Kings only had 2 really superlative scoring chances all game long. It was a monumental effort by the Edmonton Oilers in this game. Totally dominant performance, and yet they could have easily lost this game because heading into the third period, it's just 1-0. And they just had all these chances. They hit some posts and they missed the net. Russell and a couple of defensemen. We were just complaining about how the defensemen were missing the net when CC finally put it in. Anyway, I'm getting far ahead of myself. We're going to go over all this stuff in our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. And because it's the biggest Oilers win in 5 years, Bruce, we're not doing any bad things, and we're doing 3 good things each.
What's bad about that game, really? I mean, you really have to be splitting hairs to, find a mistake, one mistake that led to a scoring chance that didn't result in a goal against. Like, nothing seriously went super wrong. The team stayed out of the penalty box, David. They didn't take a single penalty, and I didn't see one.
I thought I saw one.
Maybe. I mean, it was pretty. I mean, both teams were minding their P's and Q's, but the Oilers were not sort of making desperation dive into the guy's feet, reaching out and getting your stick up, because they were in position and they were all over the puck carriers, and they played a really, really strong 2-way game of hockey tonight. So it's a gigantic feather in their caps to produce such a game as that in Game 7 of a best of 7 series. That's when you need to be on your best behavior, and I thought for the most part they were.
Yeah, this was really winning a game. If they're going to win in the playoffs, this is how they have to win. This is a team that has to play fanatical defensive hockey in order to win. And I think obviously Connor McDavid, I'll start off with my first good thing here. I think Connor McDavid realized that to heading into the playoffs, he's been playing really sound defensive hockey for quite some time, in the second half of the whole season, I actually think. and he just cranked it up in the playoffs. He really took his defensive responsibilities seriously. I mean, he was a physical hockey player tonight. He was, and then on the attack, he's Connor frickin' McDavid, right? I'm going to start out just giving a stat line, Bruce. He played the most time of any Oiler by far, 26-24. The next best was Leon Draisaitl at 21-39, which is an amazing total for a player like injured. 26-24 for Connor McDavid. 7 shots, 2 missed shots, and what's AB?
Attempts that were blocked.
2 block shots and 4 missed shots. So in total, he's fired 13 shot attempts at the net. He had 4 hits, 2 takeaways, 1 block shot, and the only downside at the faceoff circle, 3 and 7. So it was an utterly dominating performance from Connor McDavid, and I'm glad that you've got the game grades tonight, and I have a sense of the grade that you might bestow on Connor McDavid tonight.
He's getting a 10.
He's getting a 10.
He's gotten a 10.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was a 10 in a playoff game, in the game 7 when you play like that.
Yeah.
So it starts off, and this has been remarked on by probably everyone on the internet by now, but that great hit on Dursey early in the game was fantastic. I called, my wife was doing some chores. I think she just came in from outside, and I immediately had to call her over to see that hit. It was a little like when in slow-mo, it was a little less spectacular, but he did knock him on his duff. And Dursey is a tough and effective hockey player. So it's good to see McDavid get in on that. He really got rolling in the second period, where his first really great play is Yamo and Dry are working it along the boards, and McDavid gets it kind of beside the net, and he takes it out very cleverly from the side of the net to right to the slot, and he's not looking at all, I don't believe it, quick, and he puts a really dangerous backhanded shot right on net, which came very close to scoring. I mean, his first good chance was about 2 minutes into the game, where he whipped down the wing and took an outside shot, which almost beat Quick right off the start of the game, which would have been good. We just go to our scoring chance sheet to get to the next big play. I think the next big play is the goal itself. And all night long, McDavid was he was, with his quick stops and starts and quick moves, he was like breaking ankles, breaking knees, breaking whole body parts, breaking the Kings right down the middle of their bodies with how he was doing the quick stop and start. And this goal was a textbook example of that. In terms of what he does better than any other player, maybe in the history of the NHL, this is on the list, I think. These quick stop and starts where he has the puck and reverses direction with it. Because he goes behind the net, looks like he's going way, when bam, he's the other way. And he makes the old, what I call the low-high pass.
Over and over again. Just spins off of guys. I mean, the only guy, to me, that comes close in terms of spinning off is Sid Crosby. And, he's got that tremendous sort of low center of gravity, and he's got the big, thick, strong, muscular thighs, as Pierre Maguire used to always exclaim about, and sort of this really super strong lower body, and there's just no way to knock the guy down. There was no way to get underneath him to overpower him, and Sid could just spin off. But even he can't do it with sort of the speed and precision I think that McDavid can. Either way, like he can spin off either way, or he can double spin. He can basically tie the defenseman's skates together while he's doing it, because the guy, he breaks his ankles, and the guy is, it's phenomenal to watch. And he's just been doing that. Move was just more and more prominent as this series went on, because LA just could not handle it.
Well, they have Edler out there, right? He's like, 34, 35. He's a great big guy, but he's not fast. Right. And there was one shift where McDavid twice in a row just spun around him. And Crosby, I think, makes a bit more physical contact than McDavid.
Yes, like, he invites contact.
You do not touch Connor McDavid when he's making that play usually, right? Like, and they didn't on the goal, on CC's goal. So he makes the low-high pass. And this is a very difficult play, because even though that shot was from an angle, anytime you have the pass coming out from down low, the goalie's back in the net because he's got to watch the wraparound. Pass goes out, zap, and boom, it's in the net. That's a very, we in the earlier days of tracking grade A shots. We didn't include those shots, and we came to see over the years like that low high pass from down low to high up for a quick shot. That is a grade A shot, and CC put it in on the play. The next,
One
go ahead.
comment on that play. CC put it in short side, and one of the reasons that he was able to do that and beat Jonathan Quick there was that our friend Mikey Anderson was in the lane and trying to block the shot and more screening Quick than anything. And CC missed Anderson on the post side and just snuck the puck inside the post. And Anderson himself served as a great big post on that play, and he did not help Quick's cause whatsoever. So I did not mind that at all, because I got a belly for Mikey Anderson in these last 7 games. It's he's a hard-nosed, strong hockey player, but dirty enough that I'm not really a fan. I might be if he was on my team, but he's not. So
Yeah,
have a nice summer.
the hockey gourds had a little debate, and they decided to punish him for what he did to Draisaitl. So later in the second period, 2 minutes left, McDavid puts it on net from the boards, and Yamamoto jams away at it and almost scores. Next, we see in the third period, 5 minutes in, McDavid he makes a very nice pass I think it's from low to high to Yamamoto in the slot, and Kailer Yamamoto, who has, as you noted in our game notes, he had the whole net and he hit the post. This happens, right? You got to get the shot off fast, and there's defensemen coming at you. So then Bruce comes, the goal where Yamamoto breaks it out and McDavid rips down the ice and can't get off the first shot because he gets penalized, but takes it around the net, and he gets one. He gets 2 attempts. He kind of puts it into the middle and Quick gets it out, and then he's got the wherewithal to put the rebound into the goal. And what came next, Bruce, will be one of the great gifts of all time. McDavid's celebration and Yamamoto's celebration. Yamamoto jumping in the air, jumping for joy, and McDavid doing his wild, shaking body, pumping his arms. The biggest smile I've ever seen on Connor McDavid's face. I mean, he looked like, if you lit a match around him, it was going to cause an explosion, because he was just so emanate, so full of adrenaline. He was, he was so excited, and that comes in a game where he was like utterly dialed in, like so dialed in the whole game, and it was just great to see him in that moment, enjoying that play and taking his team, putting his team on his back, and taking him to the next round.
Yeah, well, on that goal, he got fouled by Durzi as he was coming in on the first one. The puck went behind the net, and he picked it up and was able to come out and jam it on the short side, and it was a very good save by Jonathan Quick, who had a great game, to keep that one out. And then the puck, I mean, you'd have to look at this replay and run it frame by frame, but the puck seemed to bounce off about 6 things, but no matter what it hit, McDavid was in control of it somehow. It went off a defender's skate. It went off McDavid's own skate. He was able to kick it up to himself. It was just sort of bouncing around there, and he was just on it. And it didn't seem to matter where the puck was going to go. He was on it, because he was like a cat on a mouse on that puck. And
Quick, eh?
Yeah, and the other fun part about that goal, another rookie mistake by LA, Sean Durzi, after committing the foul on McDavid, stopped behind the net to complain to the ref about the call, while McDavid came out in front. And then I don't think he would have caught McDavid from behind, but he could have got out there and sort of complicated things and maybe got in the shooting lane. Instead, he took himself out of the play before the whistle went. And that's, like I say, it's a rookie mistake. He'll learn from it. He's a good player, Sean Durzi. But boy, did he make a big mistake there, stopping while McDavid kept going. Oh.
That's a wicked mistake. That is a wicked oops. All right, Bruce, your first of 3 good things.
Yeah, 3 good things, eh? So yeah, I'm going to go with the play of the entire defense corps, all 7 guys. I thought brought it, played Very good to outstanding across the board. They're all going to get grades of 6+ for sure. And as one, for example, Chris Russell, who played in the number 7 role tonight, played 8 minutes and 44 seconds at even strength, during which time LA mustered one shot on goal. One shot in almost 9 minutes that Chris Russell was out there. The Oilers outshot him 4-1. Russell himself stopped 3 shots. Mike Smith only had to stop one. So shout out to him. And Brett Kulak, I thought he was outstanding, winning races to pucks and clearing the zone, keeping the puck in at the good end, moving it smartly. I thought he had an excellent game. And on top of, I mean, this should be the good thing. Brett Kulak being a dad, becoming a dad after playing a great game in Los Angeles and then returning with another great game. I mean, he must have been like pumped playing tonight from everything that went down for him. And a special shout out for Cody Ceci, who of course scored the icebreaker, which was hugely important in every game in this series. And Ceci jumped and joined the play and saw the seam between Anderson and the short side post and sifted it in there before Quick could get over. But by jumping in and getting involved in the play, his first goal in the series after I believe 5 assists earlier. Like he's been a real contributor to Edmonton's attack in the playoffs. I mean, who saw that coming to this degree? 3 shots on net, 3 blocks at the other end, 20 and a half minutes of, seeing mainly the toughs. I mean, that's been his job. And I haven't exactly looked at who played how many minutes against which players, but
Yeah.
CC and Nurse and company would see the lion's share of either the Kopitar or the Dano lines. And anyway, so he was big, and I just thought it was a real strong effort from the defensive team, and I'll add Mike Smith to that list because we're only doing 3 good things and not 10. Because he was rock solid tonight. Smith, he tracked the puck really well, and he wasn't giving up any rebounds. He seemed to be a lot of shots. He was like right in the middle of the shooting lane, and they just went into him, and they never came out again. He was just freezing and containing all the rebounds, not leaking anything through. And he didn't have that many like super tough saves, but he had a lot of B shots and a lot of shots through traffic. And
Yeah.
and his glove hand was sharp tonight, and I thought he generally had a very good game. So the defensive effort from the Oilers, and really you could include the forwards in that same discussion, but I'll stop with the 7-1.
Well, before Game 6, Bruce, again, I wrote that post like
Hmm.
to win, the Oilers must play.
Yes.
They've got to crank it up. They've got to change the way they had given up. I think it was 21 grade A shots
Hmm.
in the Game 5 loss, which was the most they'd given up in the series. 13 of them were 5 alarm shots when they lost 5-4 to LA. It was a really
Hmm.
weak
Yeah.
defensive effort by the Oilers, and lots of individual players didn't play that well. I think those 2 games where they ran away with it had gone to their heads,
Hmm.
honestly. And anyway, these last 2 games have been they've done everything I would have hoped as a persnickety fan who focuses on defensive play
Hmm.
and criticizes people whenever they make mistakes on it and keeps track of it and writes it on it on his spreadsheets and tracks it through the year. I'm just really happy with the fundamental defensive play of the Edmonton Oilers in these last 2 games. I mean, Bruce, in Game 6 they gave up 7 grade A shots, and this time it was 5.
Right.
In grade Game 6 it was 4 or 5 alarm shots, and this game it was 2. So these are just 2 monumental defensive efforts by the Oilers. They need to play this way. They showed they can now play this way in the playoffs. Every game they can come out and play this game with this level of intensity. They have a chance to win. Like it's going to take a toll on them, but
Hmm.
they have a chance to go far in the playoffs if they keep playing this style of hockey because they have these fantastic scores. Bruce, in terms of keeping a clean sheet on defense, which is you don't make one major mistake on a grade A shot against. There was 4 Oiler defenders on that list: Tyson Barrie, Brett Kulak, Cody Ceci, and Chris Russell. And then Bouchard and Keith only made one each, which is really good in a game too. I thought Evan Bouchard probably had his best game as a professional hockey player. I was really impressed with his poise on the ice. And Nurse made two. So just
Nurse got burned by Kempe on one of the 5 alarm shots with Kempe. It looked just like that overtime goal. I had my heart in my throat there. And I also don't remember which was the other 5 alarm, but Nurse got beat on that one play. But I thought he had a pretty strong game for the most part. Involved at both ends of the ice, plus two by the way, for what that's worth.
Nurse was beat on the other 5 alarm too. Yeah.
Evan Bouchard, for the only bone I had to pick with Bouchard was for all of his reputation for getting his shots through and on the net. He had 10 shot attempts tonight and 0 shots on goal. He had 7 shots blocked, and 3 that missed the target, albeit one of them hit the post.
Well, he sure was trying, but you're right. He didn't have success.
There was one play where I thought he had an opening, and he needed to shoot right away, and he waited a split second to get a little close to the net, and some king came flying out of nowhere to block it. And I just don't quite have the time you think you have at the sleep. But I thought Bouchard was very strong in his own end. He made a number of key stops, and there was one play I remember where he blocked a shot, and then he went right into the corner and just creamed the guy that took the shot, and then the Oilers just walked out with it from there. So.
Okay, Bruce, my second good thing was the Nugent Hopkins line. I have never seen Ryan Nugent Hopkins play better hockey than in this series. And you know what? Like, talk about sacrificing yourself. Like, he is a top 6 forward, I think. He's a top 6 talent on the wing, at least. And he's playing on the checking line. He's the center of the checking line. And he has been so smart, so good defensively. His coverage in the defensive slot has been as good as McDavid's. They've both been outstanding. And he's also engaging physically like I've never seen him do before as a hockey player. He's getting in there, and he's constantly getting sticks on these guys, hacking away, tipping away, and he's very good at it. Like he's good at lifting their sticks at the right moment to steal that puck. So a lot of self-sacrifice, but just incredible reading of the game, reading and making sure he's always in the right spot defensively and winning his defensive battles. And I don't know if I'm alone in this feeling about RNH, but I'm kind of over the moon about how well he's playing. I've never had more admiration for this player, even when he was like the top line center on the Oilers, and with Hall and Eberle and was putting up points. He is a way better hockey player right now, and he was never very good as a center. In that time period, he was okay at best, and sometimes he was pretty weak. He has completely cranked it up, and his 2 wingers, Archibald and Ryan. I mean, what did Archibald have? 6 or 7 hits. I think he had 6, and Cassian had 7.
Cassian had 7. Ryan and Nugent Hopkins himself had 2, and so he was playing in the so-called dirty areas tonight and doing well. He was hanging in there and coming out on top more often than not in puck battles, and just not yielding, just being determined to not get beat, and he didn't. I liked his game too. 7-6 on face-off, 7 wins, 6 losses, which is good for the Nuge as well. And best so Archibald has just been hitting like crazy all season, all series long. He's playing fantastic hockey for him, right? Like, he's not Connor McDavid, but he is a serviceable third line player when he's playing at his peak, and he has been. He's just been hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting, and it takes a toll, I think, on the other team's defensemen. He's also been making some good plays on the puck. I mean, he got a breakaway, he almost scored, very close to scoring early in the third period when he went to his backhand and almost put it between Jonathan Quick's legs. Save! I thought he did everything right. I was sure that was going to go in the net. He pulled them apart, and it's going to go in the 5-hole, and somehow Quick dragged his left pad through and filled the 5-hole with it. That was amazing stuff. And Archibald was in shock that he hadn't scored, I think, because he actually made the move he wanted to make, and he executed it. And, I mean, he's not exactly a natural sniper, let's put it that way, but that looked like it might be going in. But what he is natural at is a guided missile. Holy moly, he just skates right to the man and through the man. No quarter given. It's not like you run in and bump him and slow down while you're laying the hit on. He just skates right through the guy. And some people would deride the fact that he's always on the short end of the shot share, which he was again tonight by a fairly significant margin. But you know what? You look down this LA roster and you see a whole bunch of guys like uh, Dustin Brown and Blake Lizotte and Brendan Lemieux and Rasmus Kupari, and that's what they do. They're out there to grind and mix things up, and the Oilers needed some grinding and mixing some things up to match some of that stuff from the Kings. It's not just about shots. It's about, there's this huge breadth to the game, and to me, I mean, I like the skill guys too, but to me, Archibald and Cassian, who I thought had a really good game in the 9 minutes or so that he played, I thought they provided some pushback that Edmonton needed against LA.
It's not just about the shots; it's about goals and grade A shots. Yeah. And that not one of those three players, made a mistake on a grade A shot against. Like, they kept a clean sheet, that line in that regard. Mm-hmm. And I just felt supreme confidence, Bruce. Every time they were on the ice, I just felt they are not scoring on these guys. They're taking care of their own end. They're smart hockey players. And Derek Ryan's a really smart hockey player. He's not physical. He's fairly quick. He's not big, but he's smart. Nugent's smart. Archibald is playing smart hockey. So yeah, I just feel this is the check. Like, to win in the playoffs, you need that third line that you can send out there, shut down the opposition. The Oilers have that right now. It's such a missing link in terms of their team. I believe they haven't had this forever. I don't think they had it in 2017. They have it now. They've got this checking line, and it's huge for the Edmonton Oilers.
Derek Ryan, one thing he does really well is he puts the puck in good places.
Yeah.
When he jumps on a loose puck, even when he's getting checked, you know that he's going to chip it into the open ice, into the corner. He's going to get it behind the other team's net in a place where they can't do something with it right away, so that the team has time to recover and prepare for what happens next. And he really does understand the movement of the puck really well.
Is this your second good thing?
Second good thing, yes, indeed. And I'm going to single out Oilers rookie Ryan Mcleod, who I thought had a fantastic game tonight. He was all over the place tonight. He only had one shot on net, and it wasn't really about the offensive game for Mcleod, but it was about the skating game, and it was about the defensive and positional game, and for the work that he did in the trenches in this game. He had 2 hits. He had 5 takeaways in this game. You do not see that number in the takeaways column very often at all. Like, less than once a month would you see a number as high as 5 takeaways in a game. The Oilers as a team had 19 and LA had 3. Now, granted, there's a judgment calls involved there, but the Oilers wanted the puck bad tonight. And Ryan Mcleod was one of those guys, and I was very encouraged to see that, because one of the knocks on him has been, the major knock on him, let's face it, has been too much in the perimeter, not wanting to get in there, get down and dirty. And I thought tonight he had all of that, and he was all over the puck. And he and his mates, whoever he played with over the course of the game, I thought he was real solid. And this was a very positive arrow for young Ryan Mcleod to have such an impact on a Game 7.
His best game in the NHL, I thought.
Probably.
Easily. Like, yeah. He just played a really polished game. He made one mistake on a grade A shot. He got sucked behind the net. But other than that, he was in on 2 himself, creating 2 for the Oilers. And hustling, skating, hitting. Hustling, skating, hitting, digging. This is what he has to do to be in the NHL, and he's doing it. So good. That was an exceptional game from him. Bruce, my third good thing is Kata Yamamoto's play on CC's goal. And it comes early in the sequence, and it kind of kicks off the virtuous cycle because Yamamoto, and it epitomized the hustle plays that we saw all night. So it's my honorary, like I'm just picking one. There was many plays like that.
Yeah, okay, fair.
But this was the one. This is just it stood out because he's not tall, but he just jumped in the air as far as he could and got the puck down and kept it in their zone when it looked like it was coming out. And he started off that sequence that way, and it eventually led to the goal. So that's my third good thing.
He looked like Spud Webb making a dunk shot. way up for that one.
Mandatory 1980 sports reference.
Yeah,
I think that's what Spud Webb played. It might have been the 70s.
Yeah, and he got an assist, and his actually all three of them, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Yamamoto, were on the ice for both Oilers goals, and they each got one assist, and McDavid added, of course, a goal as well. And Yamamoto's pass to McDavid on the 2-0, the sort of inside track. I don't know if that was what he planned to do or if it was kind of anyway, it worked out perfect. It's like the quarterback underthrowing the receiver and the receiver cuts back. We do all sports here at Dakota Hockey, but the receiver cuts back and the defensive back doesn't know where it's going. And he kind of flipped under the pass and McDavid cut to the inside and Dursey was dead in the water at that point. And if that was a deliberate pass, it was a great one. And if it was a lucky pass, it was still a great one.
He is a fantastic hockey player, Kata Yamamoto. And, we've seen that line, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Yamamoto have real success. I don't know what their numbers were this year, but last year they had an incredible goals for percentage, like 82% or something like that, the 82% solution line. And not surprised to see. And I was honestly a little bit surprised at how well they did tonight because Leon was clearly playing on one leg. And but they just kept winning pucks. They kept controlling them. And Draisaitl, he's not your third good thing, is he? Because he was amazing. Like he got the puck and he made good plays with it. He was using his head, which is Leon, when he has the puck on his stick, there's few players who have a better head, better vision. And he was certainly using it. And that line was just the Kings, the cliche, they had no answer for that line. They just continually put on pressure. But Yamamoto is a big part of it, Bruce. The two best players on the team love playing with him. I think we're getting an answer to a question, and some people are going to like the answer to this question. Like in terms of, they've got some hard decisions with who they're going to keep around it forward and who they're going to pay or not. And I'm not going to get into it too much right now. It's still premature. The playoffs aren't over. But Yamamoto is on the list of people they are going to be keeping. I just have no doubt about it, Bruce. He is a glue player, extraordinaire on that line, playing with these really good hockey players.
Yeah, he seems to be a core player on the team. And, sort of front and center when you see the team doing stuff as a team, he seems to be a prominent guy in that mix. And sometimes that's a good sign. But he, 20 goal, 20 assist season that he had, and then now playing top 6 minutes in the playoffs and contributing. I mean, he's going to get a nice raise. Indeed.
What is your third good thing, Bruce?
Yeah, my third good thing is it could be my first good thing. And this is Jay Woodcroft and the scouting or the coaching staff of the Edmonton Oilers, Dave Manson, Glenn Goulston, and et al. I'll even say Dustin Schwartz in there for the coach and the goalie, the 2 shutouts in this series. That'll get a rise out of some people. But honestly, Jay Woodcroft turned his team around when he came in and took over, and we've talked plenty about how the Oilers improved greatly over the last 38 games of the regular season to make the playoffs. But I'm specifically crediting him for the game plan in Game 6 and 7, where the Oilers pulled out this series in the end. And tonight's idea, I guess it kind of started last game, but basically having McDavid centering 2 lines was what it amounted to. He was with Draisaitl and Yamamoto some of the time, and he was with Kane and Hyman some of the time. And, that's basically the four top six wingers on this team. And McDavid played 27 minutes and 23 seconds tonight. Draisaitl's up there at 22, and all the other forwards are, down under 20, where you'd expect. But McDavid really, really picked up, uh, uh, extra ice time by that strategy. And it wasn't like the old strategy. The 11-7 was McDavid would go down, or Draisaitl or Nuge would go down and play a shift on the fourth line, with Devon Shore and Derek Brassard or whoever, right? And but this particular strategy had McDavid playing with two sets of deadly wingers, and it was an excellent use of resources, I thought, under the circumstance, and it was a good way to shelter Draisaitl playing through what's clearly a significant physical issue. And then at the same time, the 7 and the deployment of same by Dave Manson was spotless tonight. They had the right defenseman on the ice all the time, it seemed like, and it was I thought the a little bit outside the box from a league that's been 12-6 for a long, long time. And very few coaches, John Cooper is one, the two-time Stanley Cup champion, who also got called up from his own farm team at an opportune moment, at a time that team was graduating players in the NHL. There's things about Jay Woodcroft's situation here in Edmonton that were ideal. And they are the reason why it not only makes sense for the Oilers to bring back Jay Woodcroft and staff, and the only way that wouldn't have happened if they'd somehow blown this series. Well, that didn't happen. But I also think it's ideal for Jay Woodcroft. Even you might say, well, there's some other team out there that might poach him because he doesn't have a contract. He'd be crazy to go somewhere else. He's in the perfect spot. He knows all the players. He's got all this back history with all the players in this team. He's had success here, and I think he will be here. And I, for one, will be happy the day that he signs, but I'm happy today because Oilers have got a 21st century coach who has delivered results, and now he's delivered results in the playoffs. Congratulations to you, Jay Woodcroft, and your staff.
The 11-7 thing, Bruce.
Love it.
I mean, it doesn't work for every team, but when you have these superstars like the Tampa Bay Lightning do, like Point and Stamkos and players like this and Kucherov, in an Edmonton, McDavid and Draisaitl, you need to do two things. You need to get them on the ice as much as possible. You also want to screw up the checking and the flow of the other team's checking line. And if the other team is wedded to four lines and you're constantly shifting around and monkeying around with your lines, it just really, I think, is confusing and upsetting to the other team. Instead of four lines, they know how to do it. This way, what's going to happen next? Who's going out there? They don't know. And it's just it's fantastic because then it takes the other team out of its rhythm. I think it's an excellent move. I never thought I would have said that because
no, me neither. But the more I see it, the more I get into it and see how it can be deployed as a weapon. I'm like totally sold that this is the solution. And big tip of the hat to the guys coming up with the game plan.
Let's do our numbers, Bruce, since we got no bad things tonight. I'll start off with my numbers. I'm going to go with the plus-minus of Connor McDavid and Cody Ceci in the playoffs. They are the two leading Oilers in the playoffs, goals plus-minus, official NHL goals plus-minus, a statistic which is often derided, and rightly so, because it's based on a group of players' performance. And sometimes you don't know if a player has earned his plus mark or not, and very often he hasn't. And sometimes he has, sometimes he hasn't. You just don't know. Anyway, they're plus 10 and plus 8. But these guys, so the McDavid, the top forward on the Oilers, Ceci, the top D man, and they really have earned these numbers. Connor McDavid has made a major contribution at even strength to 10 goals in this series, 10 goals, and he made major mistakes on 4 goals against. So he was really driving the attack consistently. Cody Ceci's numbers in some ways are even more remarkable. He made a major contribution, Bruce, to 3 goals, and he made a major mistake. Cody Ceci made a major mistake on just 1 goal against at even strength all series long. he was fantastic defensively, and I was saying this. I never would have guessed this when they signed Cody Ceci, but people who listen to this podcast know how much I admired Adam Larson's game
Mm-hmm.
and his strong defensive play.
Yep.
Today, I would rather have Cody Ceci on my team than Adam Larson. Cody Ceci's a better all-around player than Adam Larson. He's not the hammer on defense. Like, he's not this brutal, mean guy with the stick and cross-checking, and he probably gives up a bit more on defense than Larson does, but he doesn't give up that much more.
Spends
It's
less
very
time in the penalty box.
he doesn't take as many penalties, and he's a much better puck mover. So overall, Cody Ceci is a better player than Adam Larson. I mean, that is a huge win for the Oilers scouting department. The pro scouts at the Edmonton Oilers should take a bow today with that signing, because Cody Ceci has really delivered on a value contract, $3.5 million, I think, for 4 years. If he keeps playing like this, then why not? He's just 27, 28. He's in the absolute prime of an NHL defenseman career. He was the Oilers' best defenseman in this series, and may he have many more.
Yeah, he was good, and he was strong. By the way, you're number 10 on McDavid plus 10. In the last 3 games, the Oilers scored 10 goals, and McDavid was on the ice for all 10 of them.
Jeez.
And basically in the center of them all. Like, he didn't quite have a point on. He had points on 8 of them. And he kind of got ripped off out of a point on Draisaitl's shorthanded goal, I thought. And I think on the other one he was involved in the play, but the puck moved around a little bit after he touched it. 10 out of 10.
What a player.
Sounds like it's great tonight.
What's your number? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, my number is 4. And 4 is in the 3 games that the Oilers lost, they lost 4-3 in game number 1, game number 1, 4-0 in game number 4, and 5-4 is when they gave up 4 regulation goals in game number 5. And compare and contrast that to the 4 games Edmonton won by scores of 6-0, 8-2, 4-2, and 2-0, where LA scored a total of 4 goals in the 4 games. And guess which games Edmonton won? It was the games that they were able to keep LA down on the score sheet to 2 or less. And so, of course, the other part of 4 is that the Oilers won 4 games to win the series. And here's a real cool thing about this series, is that not in a single game was there ever a lead change. The team that scored first were tied a couple times, but they never gave up the lead. And they always eventually won the game, the team that scored first in every game. But in the series itself, it changed the maximum number of times. LA led 1-0, Edmonton led 2-1, LA's led 3-2, and Edmonton won it 4-3. So it went back and forth, leads changing. So there's a maximum number of lead changes in the series itself and 0 lead changes in any of the 7 games within it. So how's that for kind of strange and bizarre?
Very strange and bizarre. Bruce, so the Oilers are either going to play, I guess, Dallas or Calgary in the next round.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll see what happens
tomorrow night.
It was huge for Dallas to beat Calgary, because that means, like, if they extra rest in the playoffs is gold. Mm-hmm. It's like finding a big brick of gold. And, if there's a bad thing with the Oilers, it's that they found their defensive game in game 6, not in game 5 or game 4. And, if they had a couple more time off, that would have helped this team. They got lots of aches and pains. Mm-hmm. Draisaitl and Nurse are still nursing injuries. And anyway, but the good news is Calgary and Dallas are playing a game 7 tomorrow night, because Dallas beat them. And I was just overjoyed when that happened, because that's what that meant. And part of me would like to see a Flames Oilers series. I think the Oilers do match up quite a bit better, though, against the Dallas Stars than they do against the Flames. So I want to see Dallas beat Calgary for that reason, because I think the Dallas Stars remind me of, like they're like the Kings quite a bit. So the Oilers have now played this kind of team, and they know, I think, how to beat this kind of team. You just outwork them. A defensive team like this, like these great defensive teams like Dallas and Los
Mhm.
Angeles, are really good.
Mhm.
Outwork them, out defend them. If you out defend them, you will beat them because they're not great at scoring and you are.
Right.
So that's what I'm hoping to see. But if it's going to be the Oilers and the Flames, I mean that it'll be otherworldly exciting. So
Mhm.
I'll be okay with that as well.
One thing we do know is that the Oilers will enter the next round with 1 day more rest than their opponent. That they'll get at least 2 days off now because there's no way that Calgary or Dallas wins tomorrow and then starts the next series on Monday. So we know they won't be playing Monday. And so it's a favorable situation that series also went 7. And I mean, if Dallas somehow wins in Calgary, then the Oilers will wind up with home ice advantage in the second round, but more travel. And if Calgary wins, well, Battle of Alberta, here we come.
Yeah, the Dallas Stars, their top point scorer has 5 points in 6 games, Joe Pavelski. Then Rupe Hintz has 4 points in 6 games, and Heiskanen next at 3 points in 6 games.
Wow.
So they're not
Great
a big
players, those
scoring.
guys, though. Wow.
They have really good players on this hockey team. It's a very strong defensive hockey team with a fantastic group of defensemen. So I mean, they got Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, Ryan Sutter. I guess has been playing really strong hockey here in the playoffs. John
And
Klingberry.
little Joe is still a killer at what, 11 years old. What the hell is
Sneaky.
he? He's,
Oh
yeah,
God.
oh, so good in the tips and the rebounds and
Yeah.
just within 10 feet of the net, that guy is absolutely deadly.
King of the Californian, Bruce. King of the Californian. All right.
Is
Uh Final
I got,
thoughts? Anything?
yeah, I got one more thing. We got an email a few days
Oh,
ago,
that's
and
right.
I made a point that if they actually play on the 14th, and we do a podcast that it actually is the 15th, 1 minute after midnight on the 15th, as we say this. This is from a listener named Mia Thomas, and she says, "Hi Bruce, we haven't met, but I'm a big fan of the podcast. I've been listening for a few years now. My dad, Derek Thomas, has a birthday coming up on May 15th, his 63rd. I'm not sure if you do requests like this. I've never heard one on the podcast because I don't think we've ever done one quite like this. But I was wondering if you could give my dad a birthday shout out from me. Your podcast has brought us much closer together. And I think it would be a nice tribute to him on his birthday or someday near his birthday. So happy birthday to you, Derek Thomas. And what a lovely sentiment that our podcast has brought a father and daughter closer together. However that works, that just warmed my heart to hear that. So I thought, well, if we're doing a podcast on May 15th, you're darn right. Derek and Mia are both going to get a shout out from me. So enjoy your day.
Happy birthday, Derek. And yeah, it's interesting, Bruce. Like of all I've been a journalist now for 40 years, and of all the things I've done as a journalist, there's been nothing that's had like the response that we've had to this, to not to the cult of hockey, not to our written work there, but to
Mm-hmm.
the podcast. And I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's because we're just like every other Oiler fan. We're just Oiler fans talking about the game, and people like talking hockey with other Oilers fans. So we're we're by the faithful and for the faithful. So I think that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and nights like this, we can all be one big happy family. We don't have to bicker about Josh Archibald or Zach Cassian or Mike Smith or Duncan Keith or Evander Kane or any of the renegades that Ken Holland has brought in on this team. We can just say, hey, it worked. We won a series. First time in 5 years. Let's all enjoy it. So I'm going to crack a beer as I'm writing the grades tonight, David, and I'm going to enjoy that. And there'll be good grades for this team tonight because they deserve them.
Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.